What's going on, guys? Welcome to a new set of episode reviews. This is going to be for Higurashi When They Cry Sotsu, which is of course, the sequel series to Higurashi When They Cry Go that we reviewed months ago at this point.
I think it was 3 months ago. So
3 months ago.
I don't think it wasn't that long.
It wasn't that long. No, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but yeah. So, I mean, at the time that we reviewed this series, we didn't even really know until the first season was almost over that there was even going to be a second season, because we were saying we weren't sure how everything was going to wrap up in the amount of episodes they had left. But fortunately, of course, it was revealed that there was going to be a sequel, or a second season. Yeah, this basically seems like a lot of people were speculating. This is pretty much the answer arc season for Higurashi Go, much like Higurashi Kai with the the Dean anime. This seems to be the answer arcs that provide more context for the arcs from Higurashi Go, because as you also remember in our original reviews, we had a lot of questions about what the hell was going on with the original arcs. There was a lot of mystery to it, but it just felt like there was so many questions but really no answers to anything.
At the time, it was just rehashing all the original arcs, almost from shot to shot until it deviated at certain points, but it still felt similar, in a way that, I don't know, it just kind of felt, gotten a little bit old until it got to the second half of the first season.
Yeah, until until it was revealed why everything was happening, or why we were going through those. It seemed like we were going through those same arcs again.
Yeah, and of course it provided more context of what happened, and it gave finally gave us an answer. By the second half, that it was revealed that Go is the official sequel to Kai, and and of course the second half gave us some insight of what happened after the events of Kai, revealing what happened to Rika and Sadako, what they did, and their them attending St. Lucia Academy, and what happened with Sadako during her time there, and basically what just led her to madness and wanting to keep Rika in Hinamazawa for the rest of her life, I guess.
Yeah, so it was also revealed before this aired that we were going to get 2 episodes. The first 2 episodes were going to air, on the same day. So fortunately, we got the first 2 episodes. We got episode 1 and 2. We didn't have to wait for 2. So we watched both of them. I was a little bit concerned when I first started watching episode 1 because it started out exactly the same as the first episode in Go. And I was a little bit concerned because I was like, I really hope this isn't just kind of just the same thing, but with little differences. But fortunately, there wasn't quite a few differences as the episode went on, because instead of course, it being Keiichi's perspective this time, it's now Rena's perspective, because as we knew from this arc from Go, that Rena was the one who was really crazy, not Keiichi, as opposed to the original version of this arc, Onikakushi, where Keiichi was the one who was really paranoid. This time it was actually Rena who was the one who was crazy. So we actually get an explanation for why that is in these episodes.
Yeah, so pretty much the episode starts off in Rena's perspective. We see her seeing her father waking up with a hangover, and of course she knows at this point that her father's been hanging out with another woman named Rina Mamiya, who's pretty much I guess a hooker.
I think she's a hostess or a hooker, basically. She's it's one of those I feel like she probably works at one of those hostess clubs or whatever they have in Japan.
Yeah. So pretty much the remainder of this episode just is pretty much rehashing, several scenes that we already saw back. What was it? It was called the Onidamashi arc from Onidamashi arc from Go. However, it starts showing us some new scenes, showing us Sadako. Well, at one point, like Rika goes into the nurse's office to get some rest, and like at the same time, Sadako sneaks in there and then injects Rika with the Hinamizawa syndrome, or what was it? It was called
H173.
Yeah. So she injects like some of that into Rena while she was sleeping in the nurse's office, and then soon afterwards, initially, Rena's fine, but the drug immediately starts taking effect when her her what do you call it? Well, she goes back home. Like, she looks all over her dad's stuff, and then she finds like this her father's booklet of discovering that he's been spending large sums of money on Arena from, like, I guess it was a settlement from her father's divorce from their Rena's original mother.
Yeah, it kind of starts when she starts vacuuming his room and finds an envelope with I guess like a check for money.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course she finds all that. So yeah, this is when she starts to become really she starts kind of becoming very suspicious of Rena, and what her, and how much, because of how much money her dad's spending on her.
Yeah, and we also see a flashback of Rena talking to her mother, pretty much, I guess, like back before the divorce. However, like Rena's mother asked, like, who do you like more? Do you like your father or me? And she pretty much also reflects on like of another person that she's been going out with. I think it was. Did she say it was like?
It was supposedly it was Rena's uncle. Was it Akihito or something like that? I don't remember his name, but yeah, apparently, like, she was having an affair with supposedly, I guess, Rena's uncle. And she's also pregnant. So yeah, and of course, I think the next. I think either the next day or the next several days, the divorce is officially filed, and then of course Rena decides to stay with her father. But of course, like, this is the fallout doesn't go out too well when Rena mentions I guess her uncle going out with her mother, and then this leads to her father just pretty much slapping her. It's because she mentioned that she liked the uncle because he gave her like candy or something, or he was nice, and that's what set him off.
Yeah, but
I also I also wonder, did we? Because it's been a while since I watched Kai, but was this in Kai? Because I actually do not remember if they actually showed this. Because I know this is referenced multiple times in the original series, like Rena's backstory, but I don't know if we ever get shown it.
I need to watch that scene again. It's been a while since I saw it, but yeah. So anyway. Rena goes to a cafe, and then she then overhears Rena pretty much flippantly discussing taking money from Rena's father, which pretty much like sets Rena off and just almost storming out of the cafe. But at the same time, we also overhear Rena talking about how she's also a single daughter being raised by single parents, so she feels sympathy for Rena. But of course, Rena was already gone by the time like she was talking about this. So that leads us into the next episode, and we first start seeing Rena purchasing the tools for it's the exact same tools that she used against Keiichi during the end of the Onidamashi arc. Yeah. We know from this that of course she's already planning to murder Rina.
And she keeps repeating to herself, like, I need to work hard. And of course, repeatedly, like, scratching her neck, which, as we know, is a major symptom of the H173.
I'm just curious to, like, why no one is, like, noticing like any scars or scratches on her neck at this point, because that should have been even more noticeable the more she kept scratching it over and over again, even before this. So I don't know. It just seems weird that that there's no visible scarring on the right side of her neck for whatever reason.
Well, we see in some scenes where she does like damage, does pretty significant damage, it looks like, to her neck, and it seems to kind of go away in the next scene. So and also it's just in general it's kind of ridiculous of like how much damage the people within the show are able to do to their necks by just like scratching it like that, which is pretty unrealistic. But I mean, the show in general can be kind of ridiculous at times. So I mean,
we've seen like people like scratching their neck to the point where it just starts profusely bleeding at times. So like I don't know, it just seems weird that that
everyone in the show has Wolverine claws.
Yeah, it's just the amount of scratching their necks just doesn't really have much of a visual effect shortly afterwards. Considering
unless the
that,
show wants it to, basically, like, yeah.
I don't know. It's just a weird visual thing that I keep noticing over and over again. But anyway, so Rina ends up visiting Rena's house, which I'm assuming that she's trying to meet with Rena's father to try to, I don't know, break up their.
Well, she actually does say that she came there supposedly to talk to Rena. But that she does tell her later that she is planning on like breaking things off with her father.
Yeah. So they do end up spending time together, talking about of course, with Rena talking that she is a daughter of a single parent household, and of course she feels sympathy for Rena's position, and of course she wants to talk to her father, but Rena decides to take Rena all the way to the dam construction site to help her find what was it? It was like that giant Kenta statue that. Well,
she just says that they were going to go treasure hunting.
Yeah, the treasure hunting. But all of a sudden it starts raining, and then they take cover in this abandoned van, in which they end up talking some more. But then soon afterwards, Rena begins strangling her, saying, of course, saying that she has to work hard to ensure her family's safety or to keep her family together. So of course, Rena instinctively defends herself by grabbing a nearby lamp and then just smacking Rena in the head with it. So Rena tries to run away, but she ends up stumbling a couple times to the point where Rena is able to easily catch her and start pretty much immediately murder her with her signature. What was it? Her signature machete that she always carries around.
Yeah. She kills her and then cuts her body into pieces, putting them in separate bags.
Mm-hmm. And then that which leads into the following day, where she ends up hiding the body parts at the dam construction site. And this is we also see Keiichi arriving at the same time, and this initially leads to Rena thinking that Keiichi saw what she did, but of course Keiichi doesn't really know that. So we also see the exact same scene with Keiichi picking up an old batch of magazines talking about people mysteriously disappearing or getting murdered, and then that's the point where we also see Rena trying to, I guess she tried to murder Keiichi in secret, but she was unable to find an opening because Keiichi was able to catch her before she was able to strike the killing blow.
Yeah. We should also mention that Sadako has been keeping tabs on her this whole time. She saw when she murdered Rena, and she's just been watching her the whole time.
She also said something about like that she will give Rena happiness if she can keep Rika in Hinamizawa, but
I wonder if Sadako is going to ever going to like approach Rena or something and like try to strike some kind of a deal or something, or is she just going to try to like hope that Rena does what she wants her to do or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, it would probably have to be sometime before Rena goes to Keiichi's house. That same scene where she ends up repeatedly stabbing him to death.
I kind of doubt Sadako had much of anything to do with that, though, because as we know, it seemed like, this episode is saying that Rena was already paranoid about Keiichi, and, he was probably the next target because she was afraid that Keiichi would discover, that she murdered Rina. So she was probably just going to go ahead and kill Keiichi on her own. I don't think Sadako really had to do anything to, push her in that direction. But I do like in this episode too how like a lot of the scenes that we saw in the first season, in the first episode, that they're kind of given more like we find out now like why certain things happen the way they did, like with Rena going off to the garbage dump, and like some of the weird stuff that we weren't sure about, like her being kind of suspicious at the dump. We didn't know what that was about, and also like her watching Keiichi. And also just her going to the nurse's office and then Sadako following her. I'm pretty sure everybody already speculated that Sadako, that was her chance to, of course, do something to Rena, which of course was the case. So yeah, it pretty much cleared up a lot of those scenes that we were kind of curious about in the first episode.
Yeah, and of course the last scene at the end of this episode was, of course, Oishi questioning Rena about Rina's disappearance. Of course, Rena confirms to Oishi that that her and Rina ended up talking at one point of her wanting to see her father. But of course, like Oishi just like leaves afterwards and decides to question her later. So I guess this is really going to start pushing Rena towards the edge to the point where she needs to take action shortly after that.
Yeah. She's probably like, now she's probably worried about Oishi coming after her. And now she's probably suspicious of Keiichi as well.
But it's like we'll probably have to wait until like next week if it's gonna follow up. Well, I'm pretty sure it is gonna follow up. On that infamous scene at the end of the Onidamashi arc. But so far I like. I do like these first two episodes, showing us a different perspective of what happened in the first arc. But it's also like at the same time, it's also one of my major concerns as well, because it's the entire season is more than likely just going to show us the perspective of the other characters of what happened in previous arcs that we've seen prior, before they before they head into the finale arc of whenever that's going to be.
That's pretty much I think what this season is going to be, at least for the the beginning arcs, and then we have the second half of Go, where things start kind of sort of making more sense, getting explained. So I think maybe like the second half of Sotsu might be sort of like following up on what Go was setting up with Sadako versus Rika, and I'm kind of wondering how that's going to play out. I really don't know. A lot of people speculate that there is going to be this sort of like this sort of like conflict between some of the people that because as we know, some of the characters do have memories of the other arcs. So somebody has speculated that the other characters might start remembering, and they might either side with, I guess, Rika or Sadako, which I think that could happen, because and somebody brought up too that that's kind of just based on some of the album artwork for the openings and endings from the first season, one of them is Rika like holding, or like Rena holding Rika's hand. If you put the two album art, both of the artwork together, that they're holding each other's hands. And then there was another one where I guess like Sadako was holding Shion's ribbon. So they think that might also be a clue as to like who's going to side with who, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's likely because Ryukishi does tend to foreshadow stuff. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. But I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, I really did enjoy these first two episodes. I thought it did a good job at like answering some of the questions we had from Go.
I mean,
or at least some of the questions. Like there's still a lot we don't know, but
I mean, it's more or less the same things that we saw in Kai, but with some more added context, here and there.
Yeah, because they did go over this in Kai with of course Rena murdering Rina, like that's from Kai. But of course now we have the added twist of Sadako being involved in this instead of it being
Takano.
Takano, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is just now of course Sadako manipulating everything behind the scenes. That's I don't know. I mean, there was some new stuff I felt like, because I like I said, I don't remember them actually showing Rena's backstory in the original series, but I could be wrong about that. So I mean, that I kind of like that. It seemed like it kind of went more into Rena's character.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts on the opening and closing of the show?
Yeah, I thought I actually kind of like the new opening better. A lot of people were like looking at clues from the original opening as to what might happen, but there wasn't really a lot I could take away from this new one in terms of like clues for what I guess might happen, aside from like things that are really explicit, like the two, like Rika and Sadako just like fighting each other and all that. But there's not really much else I could just like take away from it. I mean, unless I just didn't really catch something, I guess. And then there's the new ending too. And I mean, I think it's pretty good. It's pretty much the same kind of style as the other endings. I don't know, maybe there's some clues there that I didn't pick up on, but I guess I wasn't really paying a lot of attention.
Yeah. And we have to wonder what was it, Featherine or Yua, whatever her name is.
I did think it was interesting how they showed Han Yu in the in the opening. We saw her like a couple times.
Yeah, I guess because I remember like what happened with Han Yu is like she ended up disappearing when she realized her power was she used whatever power she had left to convince Rika to look for the other time loop or whatever.
I guess in terms of clues, like they showed Han Yu and then they showed Featherine right after that. So I'm wondering if they're trying to imply that like they're one and the same or something. Which is what people thought. Like I have a lot of theories about they're like the same person.
Yeah. I thought this was a good way to finally get back to Higurashi, with the new season, of course. But I'm still curious of like how the rest of the show is going to be handled. Like I'm already predicting at this point that they're just going to rehash like the first three story arcs like from the original Go season. So it's obviously it's not going to be surprising, but it's going to be interesting to see like what the perspective is going to be with the other characters, because I'm curious about like what really happened during what was it, the second arc of what was that second arc? I forgot what it was called. It was
I forget the name. It was like the cotton drifting one.
That one. It's just the way that particular arc ended, just it just left a lot more questions than answers, because like
that's kind of the problem. That's the problem I had with the Go and the first season. What it was basically with like how each of these those beginning arcs ended with Keiichi ended up being the only I mean maybe not the only survivor, one of the few survivors left, and he's just like basically hearing secondhand of what happened, and then like it just abruptly ends. So I didn't really like how they did that. So I mean maybe I'm kind of hoping that this season will like clear a lot of that up, because it just felt really like anticlimactic because like we just go from that like right to the next arc, and I was just like, I felt like there was like so much we didn't really understand.
Yeah. I mean, we pretty much know what's gonna happen by the end of the Rena arc, but I'm more interested of like, on what more they're gonna finally reveal with what happened during the Cotton Deceiving arc, because that just that just left a lot of questions in my mind of what happened, because like you said, it was all those arcs in that first core was focused on Keiichi's perspective, and I'm curious as to why he's like literally almost the only person that's always like surviving at the end of each one of those arcs.
Well, I mean, I have heard the theory is that because Sadako was trying to protect him, because Sadako sees him as like her new brother or something, since her actual brother is in the coma. Because if you remember from that, what was it, the third arc, I think.
It was that last arc in which she found her brother.
Like she started treating Keiichi as like her brother, so maybe that's like why she's maybe like sparing his life each time.
It could be. But
that's another arc that I had a lot of questions about from the original series, was the one involving Sadako, and I think that's the one that we're probably going to get a lot of answers about, because as we know, she's pretty much the villain now, so they're probably going to show the context for a lot of what was going on there. One of the weirder things was, when supposedly, her uncle comes in and beats Keiichi half to death. I'm kind of wondering what was really going on there. So I kind of hope they like answer that.
I mean, if we remember, like, I think it was the second to last episode of Go, we see Sadako's uncle trying to turn a new leaf with Sadako.
Yeah, so it just doesn't make sense, like why that would happen. But.
Yeah, I mean that could add a little bit more to what happened in that last arc, I guess. So, but I'm just a little disappointed that they kind of put that episode in there and then just left it open ended before that season ended. But but I'm curious if they're really gonna follow through with that. Once they reach that arc later this season.
Yeah, but I don't have too much else to say. I thought it was a pretty good way to start the new season. I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen. Even though I can kind of guess as to what will probably happen later on here. I mean, like I said, Sadako doesn't really have to get very much involved with what Ren is going to do next. Although I do think I'm pretty sure, it was of course Sadako that killed both Rika and probably herself, and that because like we heard in the first season that they both died. That was probably Sadako, of course.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember. It's because like almost like at the end of every arc, like even after Keiichi ends up surviving,
and then of course Sadako, ordeal, like in the second arc, Sadako probably was involved in Shion's death, and she was supposedly found dead too. So yeah, I can kind of predict that's, she was of course behind that. Every time she, ends up being quote unquote found dead. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
I think this is a good way for us to start the new season with a new, going back to show that that kind of left it open ended 3 months ago. So I'm glad that we're finally getting a follow up to it. But it seems to me that it's going to be somewhat predictable, because we know what arcs are going to be re-shown again, and the way that how each one of them is going to be ended, but under a different perspective this time.
Yeah. But I mean, I like that they're doing that, because like I said, one of the main problems I had with the first season was that we just had so many questions after each arc ended. But I'm also hoping to get some, I'm also very interested in what's going to happen with this whole conflict with Rika and Sadako, and where that's going to go. Like, I mean, I still kind of feel okay, sort of hold to the theory that it's going to be some kind of be some sort of weird way to connect it to Umineko with those two characters, because it just having those two characters fight each other, that's pretty similar to those two characters from Umineko. So I kind of wonder if that's where it's going to head. But it would be also interesting if that's not where it ends up going. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it could. There's many different ways it could play out. But So I guess these are going to be airing on Thursday now.
Yeah, Thursdays. Alongside, of course, Scarlet Nexus, which is also coming out on Thursdays. But we're not going to be reviewing another episode of that for maybe another couple weeks because they aired the first 2 episodes early. But I'm definitely looking forward to more episodes of Sotsu coming up later.
Yeah, same. It's probably the one of the most anticipated of anime for me for this season. So that all being said, until next Thursday, we will see you all next time.